Guys, I'd love to start this one with the normal intro as always, welcoming voice to give it a go, but I just can't right now, Goody. All I can think about right now is just sound the alarms, press the panic button. We're going to game 7 and I'm having nightmares. I'm sitting here thinking about this whole situation of going to game 7, our history of game 7s, and I know we're trying to break down this game that just happened, but I can't. Like, we're just it's press the panic button right now. Right now.
It's a shame. It's the second game in a row where we fight back desperately to get into it.
Mm-hmm.
We do that. We get ourselves knotted up, and then it doesn't go the way that we want. So that's just tough. We fight back to get into the game. That's the kind of resiliency and grit you want to see. But when you don't deliver on it, it doesn't do anyone any good. We're going to game 7 right now. Who would have predicted this happen? And it's terrible, to be quite frank with you.
Yeah, I know. Honestly, first off, shout out to fans, because this is the first game that we've had in Canada in over 444 days that I saw. The first game with fans. It's pretty cool to see them in attendance just in general. 2,500 people in the stands tonight. Tickets were going up to like $4,500 a ticket. That's just insane. The passion from people is just outrageous. I don't even know what to begin to say there. So that was pretty cool to see in a Canadian arena. Too bad that it had to happen in Montreal, and this was something that we kind of discussed. Was we didn't want it to get to game 6 and have that opportunity to have the Habs behind them, because it was evident early that they were energized from the fans in the stands.
Oh, clearly. And it's going to be a mismatch just from the strict standpoint of Ontario's still on lockdown, and you'd be crazy to think that in playoff hockey, your home audience doesn't matter. It's a huge factor.
Mm-hmm.
You tell Montreal was motivated tonight. They wanted to force this to 7 desperately. I mean, I got some more juicy takes as to how I think this is going to go down. I don't think the Leafs are in trouble. I mean, we are in trouble when you look at the situation, but we're the better team. We got to cash out here. Once it's all said and done, it's not going to matter how many games we got it done in. It's just going to matter that we're moving forward. I still think that motion, but like I've been saying all along, I'm just going to believe it when I see it. And unfortunately, we haven't seen it yet. I'm waiting for it to be delivered, but this was a really tough one to accept tonight.
It's hard too, because it's every game that I think we've looked at, Jack Campbell has played incredible. He's played unbelievable.
He's played amazing. There's nothing that we can say to Campbell right now that would make us feel better about the effort. He's gone out there and given us a chance to win.
Yeah, and you think about that start tonight, the Habs came out energized. They were jumping early. They were getting lots of chances. I'm pretty sure they started the game with 10 shots, and the Leafs had none. And if Campbell isn't hot and ready to go right from the beginning, the Leafs are out of this one early. And because of his play right from the get-go, the Leafs had a chance. And then you even look at that third period, the only one that I would say maybe could have done something is that first goal by Perry, where he's kind of just out of the crease, laying down and still scrambling, and it's okay, yeah, he could have got across, but you honestly can't look into it too much. And then he just shuts it down for the rest of the way. And it's when you have a guy back there playing at that level, you need to play up for him. And part of the problem here right now that I keep looking at is that the rest of this lineup, I think, is playing really well. You have one glaring problem up front and a depth problem on defense right now, in that the first line is not doing anything. Mitch Marner, I heard this stat yesterday. Mitch Marner hasn't scored a goal in the playoffs since the 2018-2019 playoffs against the Boston Bruins. I think it was game 5 of that series. That line needs to contribute. Yes, Matthews had his goal in game 2 of the series, and they had an assist. They had assists on the Hyman goal last game, but that is not enough. You were the number 1 line, and you need to be going. You can't be getting outplayed by Mikheyev, Kerfoot, and Engvall. And it's no slight to those 3 guys, but when that line is going just as much as you, they're playing as much ice time as you because of how hot they are and how well they're playing, that is a slight on the first line. Not a slight on McCabe and those guys at all. Like, they're playing incredible, and I'm loving seeing them coming out on the ice every shift because the energy they're bringing, the chances they're creating. But that first line really needs to step up. It's just glaring at this point.
Oh, 100%. And you look at Marner and say, okay, what's the alternative here? Let's say in a hypothetical world that I'm praying doesn't happen, we get knocked out. There's going to be a lot of diehard Leaf fans who are calling this offseason to say, blow it up, trade Marner, build around Matthews, get a big package for him, a more defensively sound package, a more playoff proven package. There's going to be all those comments, but we know what's going to happen. If that goes down and we deal Marner to another team, he's going to go be lights out for them. He's going to be great. It's just so frustrating right now to see him in this developmental stage where he's clearly undersized. He's clearly needing to up the grit level at different times. And just even his mental state of awareness out there on the ice, like that penalty late on in the game was the last thing we needed. I know it didn't prevent us from tying it up and going into overtime.
Yeah.
But still, you look at that in the greater scheme of things, and had we not tied it up, this loss is on Marner. And that's so tough to say because he is really like our best player.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say our best player because I would have Matthews as best player, but yes, I agree. Like, he is like 1B there. I think Matthews doesn't do what he does without Marner, but I still think Matthews is the best player on this team. The only thing that I have an issue with what you said is that one thing you just noted that this is a developmental stage, and I would argue like this can't be development anymore. This is no longer development. I know he's a young guy. He's 24 years old, but this is his 5th season in the league, and this is his 5th go-around at the playoffs. Like, these guys are not shy to the playoffs, and it's not like they haven't been there before. They haven't had success in the playoffs, and I get that, and that's a different thing. That's a whole other element, but they have been in the playoffs. It's not like they're not playoff tested. Their very first year, they made the playoffs, and they haven't missed since. Last year, I don't know if you want to call that a missed playoffs because they played in that play-in round, but they still played a 5-game series. Like, it's playoff hockey, and you need to get used to that. And whether or not that is considered playoffs, the guys who are playing in that series are looking at it as a playoff series. So now you're in year 5 of going in the playoffs. You need to know how to play playoff hockey. This is no longer development. It's far past development.
I agree with you. It's just I sympathize with Marner being an undersized player in the league. Those kind of guys do take a little bit longer to figure out on a consistent basis. I mean, look at Johnny Gaudreau. He's had his fair share of knocks on him, even despite a really great career. It might be like that. It might be like that. We might be looking at a Capitals situation where we need to go through heartbreak after heartbreak after heartbreak until we retool just the right way and win it. And I don't want to think that way. That's all hypotheticals. We're still in the playoff thick of things. We still should be in the driver's seat of this series. There's so many things that still say we should win this, but there's red flags everywhere of, okay, even if we get past this series, like Montreal was supposed to be easy work. And I know you could argue the rivalry there is going to intensify things, make it way closer than it should be. But at the end of the day, if you're the better team, you need to seize fate right there and then. And yeah, that is a concerning thing about Marner because he doesn't have the killer instinct. And coming into this series, Matthews is a guy that I would have said does have killer instinct, but I don't want to bash Matthews too much. He's clearly a top 3 player in this league, but we're at the point too where I'm questioning his effectiveness next to Mitch Marner, and it's not even his fault. I think Matthews has played well, but I'm concerned about Marner as well. I don't think it's enough to make me ring all these trade bells. I don't think that's going down. But right now, if they don't get this game 7 punched in, like, what do we do, Philly? Well, where do we go from here?
Dude, I don't know. That's looking pretty far ahead, and I hope it doesn't get to that point. But yeah, I think that like one thing too that we can even look at here is that Matthews hasn't played bad. He just hasn't scored, and he hasn't gotten on the board offensively. He hasn't made mistakes defensively. He hasn't got scored on 5-on-5, and that's great to see from that aspect. He needs to score, though. He's the Rocket Richard winner, and he's paid to be a goal scorer, and he's paid to do that, put up points and get on the board, and he hasn't been doing that. So that's like, I guess maybe you could say in that aspect, he's playing bad, but I'd say the rest of his game, he's not like, oh, he's making mistake after mistake or having problems everywhere. Whereas Mitch Marner, I would honestly look at and be like, he's playing bad right now. Like, he's playing a bad series, and he has looked bad and looked out of it and looked lost every single night, and it's tough to see.
Marner's the ultimate high risk, high reward player. Like, he'll hold on to the puck way longer than anyone should ever do, but half of the time that's going to result in a highlight reel goal, and the other half it's going to end up 2-on-1 back in your own end. And not to say that happened tonight, but Marner is a guy that, you hedge a lot of chances when you have him out there, because he's not the image of consistency on the ice. He's the image of high risk, high reward, and it's been paying off for the Leafs because we got a star-studded roster. We get into these playoff series when they key on to you.
Yeah.
And we can get right into the special teams because that is what's killing us.
Yeah.
We make an adjustment. Willie comes up to the first power play unit. That was an adjustment that I was really happy to see. Didn't really pay off for us tonight. I'm a little baffled right now because we got all the talent in the world. That's no new story. We got the grit in now as well, which was supposed to fix things in this playoff stretch. But I think we're really coming down to the full realization that if our top players aren't ready for the moment, it doesn't matter who you've got playing in the bottom six. Marner needs to step up. And to echo what you said, I don't think Matthews has been bad either. It's really on Marner at this point. Not completely. We could be better as a group, but he is, like what you said, the 1B of this whole thing. So he's got to get back in there more actively, and he's got to learn to diversify the way Matthews has so they can start playing better as a cohesive unit and get some scoring opportunities, because he's playing regular season hockey. Matthews has moved on. He's in the playoffs. Marner's trying that same old stuff that works in the regular season. He's going to need to find a different gear to get us into this second round.
Yeah, and another thing you touched on there too, actually, is that I think it's been noticeable in the first 4 years of going in the playoffs that the Leafs' depth has not been there. So whether it be them not being able to contribute offensively or them causing problems in the defensive zone and getting scored on and creating deficits for this team to have to battle back from in that bottom six. And then we always look at it like, oh, the top lines can't outperform those lines and blah, blah, blah. Now we have a depth that is outperforming the top six on a nightly basis. Well, maybe not top six, because I think Nylander and his line has been playing pretty well, but at least that top three, that top line, they've been outplayed on a nightly basis. And I have a hard time even grouping Hyman into that top line, because I think Hyman has been playing really, really well. He's bringing the energy. He's making good plays. He's doing Zack Hyman things, and it translates to the playoffs just because his game does translate well to the playoffs. But you look at our goal scorers. We've got Spezza, Galchenyuk, Muzzin, Brody, Riley getting on the board. It's filtered through the rest of the lineup, and everyone else is contributing offensively. And then it's just those two guys you're looking at and saying they need to be better and they need to do something. But moving on to some more of the issues that have been kind of glaring. Last game, Rasmus Sandin didn't play the best game. There was one thing that I kind of touched on is I think he should have been on the power play still, and taking him off could shoot some of his confidence, but I think it's putting him on a power play. A guy like him is an opportunity for him to fight his way out of it and play his way out of that poor play that he was doing at 5-on-5. But then the coaching staff makes the decision to take him out and put Travis Dermott back in, which I honestly kind of get. I don't want to see it happen. I'd rather Rasmus Sandin in there, but I get it because of the fact that Rasmus Sandin is a young guy. He hasn't been in the playoffs that often, and it's not about development. It's about win right now. We need to win right now, and you need to put in who gives you the best option. But Jake Muzzin goes out tonight in the second period, and you have to rely on your final five defensemen to step up and fill that role and play some more minutes, which means that a guy like Travis Dermott is going to have to play more minutes and elevate his game to fill that role. He doesn't have to be Jake Muzzin. He doesn't have to step up to play like Jake Muzzin, but he just has to step up and elevate his game at least a little bit, just because he's soaking more minutes every single time, every single period. He played pretty well tonight, all the way until that final gaff. But the problem with that final gaff is that was a very Travis Dermott thing to do. That turnover was very Travis Dermott-like.
It was, and that's why I can't say too much about Dermott, but the more and more I thought about the Sandin coming out of the lineup, Dermott coming in, it's a testament to Dermott to say that, or sorry, not to Dermott, it's a testament to Sandin to think that he can do immediately what Travis Dermott was doing for us out the gate as a way less experienced player. But we're at the point where I was actually in agreement with the decision to play Travis Dermott, just from the standpoint of I know he can weather the physical storm, probably a little bit more level-headed at the moment than Sandin could. I think it'll get to him every other game. We saw that actually a little bit, but At the end of the day, this is the playoffs, right? You got to roll with a hot hand. And if Sandin's moving the puck better than Dermott, you're referencing that turnover. That was costly. So
Well, yeah,
it's,
yeah.
yeah, it's one of those things, right? Like, I don't know what to say other than I love Sandin's game. I unfortunately really backed the decision to keep Dermott in there, but it bit us tonight. So clearly, I don't know who should be in the lineup. Sheldon Keefe doesn't know who should be in the lineup. We're going to game 7 with the Habs. This whole thing really is up in a chaotic hellfire. And Foligno comes back tonight, makes a physical difference, but not enough, right? We called it. Foligno was going to be back for this game. It made complete sense. We thought this is where we're going to punch the ticket. I don't know. I think Sandin, after tonight, to state the very obvious, goes back in.
Yeah, and the other thing too that we could be looking at here is a situation where both Dermott and Sandin are in the lineup if Muzzin stays out, which ultimately there's not too much to break down there because you're not talking about who comes out, who goes in. It's very obvious that just one of them is going in and they're both playing and they're both going to need to step up their game because Muzzin coming out and you're going to need to fill that role. Let's hope Muzzin just tweaks something and is able to return for Monday's game. But if he can't, those two guys really need to elevate their play to be able to fill that bottom 5-6 or wherever they play in the lineup to be able to step up and give the Leafs and give this team what they need to be able to win game 7 and advance on. Now, I don't want to just rag on the team the entire time here because it's easier to look at and say, oh, we lost this game. That sucks. It's too bad. But there have been some positives that could be looked forward to here. The Leafs blue line and the Leafs, their offensive contributions have really stepped up. Throughout the entire regular season, the Leafs were 30th in the league in goals by defensemen, and it was something that was really, really lacking. It was something that, yes, aside from the power play was a glaring problem that we had going in here, but something that wasn't talked about much was the lack of offensive contribution from the blue line. And throughout the playoffs thus far, it hasn't been a concern, almost actually to the opposite, where it's creating concerns for the other team.
I agree. That's been a really positive surprise for the Leafs out of this whole thing. But it's sad because, well, think about the Brody goal tonight, right? Or the Brody goal. It gets redirected right in front of the net. You're beating Carey Price like that. I think it's more a testament to the fact that we can't beat him one-on-one.
Yeah.
We need to rely on a point shot to get dinged around like a ping ball before we go into the net. Like, that is really where we're at with Carey Price. Coming into this series, I said it. I was worried about Carey Price because when you put Carey Price or any goaltender in an environment where you got a Canadian market coming down on you saying, this is the year, like they had in Montreal for a long time, that would have been tough to play in. They got so much youth in their lineup. The Leafs are such a clear contender team that I think it's channeled this level in Carey Price where he's not worried about losing. He has no fear. He's out there just stopping every puck that comes his way. And that's what I was worried was going to be the situation. And then inversely, the Leafs have a world of pressure on their shoulders. And going into game 7, I hate that. I'm really worried about what's going to happen here, Philly. I know we're the better team. I mean, I said Leafs in 6. Can't believe we're going all the way to 7 with it. But, think about Boston. They went all the way to a cup run against Chicago after going to 7 with the Leafs and falling down 4-1. So it's what I say 4-1 in the final game 7. We all know what happened there.
And they were up 3-1 in that series too. The Leafs came back in that series.
And to say that Bruins team wasn't worth none, that's not true at all. They went to the Stanley Cup Finals and gave it a good run. Like, they were a tough as nails team, but in the first round, wild stuff happens. I don't want to subscribe to the belief now that we're a second tier team. We're not serious if we get out of this round. I think we still have genuine, serious aspirations, but this Canadian team is a huge menace in this whole way to us getting where we want. We're so clearly the better team. I'm at a bit of a loss right now, Philly. I'm not sure what the move is other than to just buckle down and go into game 7 ready to get it done.
Yeah, no, you're right. And like Carey Price, this is a scary, scary thing with Carey Price in that there. Like, you look at tonight, 43 shots against, 2 goals against, 41 saves, .953 save percentage. Like, this guy, the only 2 goals the Leafs scored on him were both deflected off of Habs players into the net. That is, like, that's a problem. That's something you really, really don't want to be facing going into a game 7, because you look at even how much the Leafs outplayed and outshot the Habs in that overtime period. The Leafs dominated the entire overtime, and then you go down the ice the other way, one bad play by a defenseman, and it's in the back of your net, and it's over. Like, everything that you've just done for 13 minutes straight or whatever it was that overtime lasted, it's erased because of one bad play and Carey Price's incredible play in net.
Well, and think about how the series has gone. Like, we lost a game on an 0-2 the other night, and then we're in a similar situation tonight where we blow it in OT, and you just start to realize Carey Price is on a whole different level. He's stopping breakaway opportunities left, right, and center. It's been mind-boggling. When we beat him, it's because of some crazy deflection. It seems almost nearly impossible to beat the guy straight up right now. And that's where I'm looking at Matthews like, we need you. We need that shot to whiz by him into the top corner.
Yeah.
He's pretty much the only guy that you could set up in the slot and expect him to score more than he gets saved on Carey Price. He's really the only guy that one-on-one I trust in that battle, and he's been neutralized. So it's just scary from so many angles. But Philly, we're going into a shootout with Montreal. And when I say shootout, I mean it's going to be whoever shows up with a better game plan that night, who's more motivated. And if it's not the Leafs, then they don't deserve it. I'm just going to say it straight up. I know I sound almost like a hater, but I've been conditioned this way. To the point where if the Leafs aren't going to come out and give their best in a Game 7 against the Montreal Canadiens, I'm happy to see them go golfing, because it's at that point where we've been treated so poorly as fans. It's just so true. And I really, really hope they come through. I think they will come through, but if they don't, Philly, we got bigger issues on our hands than just this season.
No, you're right. You're completely right. Like, it's just to the point of like, okay, guys, like, at least get past the first round. Because you even look at those Capitals teams that you mentioned where it took them a while to do it. Those Capitals teams won President's trophies and went through the first round, went through the second round, made it to the conference finals, and just couldn't break past that point. They get to the cup once and they get it done. But they had some sort of playoff success previously. They were at least able to win series. Like, win series. It's that simple. They could win series. This team cannot win series right now. And it's getting very concerning as to what if they're going to be able to do it. You look at 3-1 in a series. You come back from down 3-1 in a game, tie it, send it to overtime. Less than a minute in, it's over, and you're going to Game 6. Now you go to Game 6. You blow it. You're down 2-0 late in the third period. You miraculously battle back from what's inspired by a veteran in Jason Spezza, again, fighting to keep this season alive. And then TJ Brody firing pucks on net, gets it tied up. You go to overtime. You have another chance. You're dominating, and then back of your net, and you're going back to Game 7. Like, it's just, there needs to be some sort of closing here. Like, something has to happen.
Our players above the age of 30 and onward, there's not a whole lot we can say to them. Jumbo, I understand he's taking a lot of heat right now, and that's not completely undeserving. Jumbo has been given some roles that clearly he's out of his prime to accept, but he's doing his best to go out there and do it, and it motivates everyone. So I'm not going to harp on the Jumbo part too much. Our vets have been amazing. The big issue has been the young talent, which we've been stuck to. It's our young core. We're refusing to trade away a Nylander, a Marner, clearly a Matthews. Those guys are like untouchable. But if they can't get through, that whole narrative justifiably changes. So these guys got to feel the pressure going into this. Who doesn't want to be a Toronto Maple Leaf if you're in the NHL, especially when these homegrown kids like Marner? If Marner continues to play poorly and we get bounced, he is justifiably on the hot seat, about to be dealt for a massive trade package. Whether or not that happens, I don't know. It depends on what teams are willing to give up for him. But knowing how good Marner is, it's probably a lot. And knowing how good Marner is, he's going to develop into a hell of a player. Yeah. So it would be a shame. It would be a shame to see the Leafs just forced to send him out. I don't want to see that happen. I want to see us go through the next round. This is the way it should have gone from the beginning. I'm at a loss. I'm not going to lie. I'm not very impressed with Sheldon Keefe. I know you're a Sheldon Keefe guy, and he's come up through the ranks. He's earned his stripes completely. I think he is a good coach, but they need someone better than a good coach right now. They need a Rod Brindamore or someone to really motivate the team, because it's at the point where the X's and O's don't add up. You need to have someone breathe down their neck and tell them, this is your chance. This is what you're playing hockey for. We don't have that kind of motivator on the bench. When Sheldon Keefe speaks, he seems very analytical, very laid back, very player coach. it's the days where I wish I could take Sheldon Keefe and Babcock and take a hybrid of them right now, because we don't have nearly enough accountability, it seems. I mean, Marner's right back out there in the heat of the moment. Not saying he should be benched, but he's not playing good at all. And after he makes those repeated mistakes, that late penalty in the third, I don't know. I bet you if it's a Babcock team, he's glued to the bench there for most of the rest of the period, and that would get criticized too. But no matter who it is, it just doesn't seem like we're getting out of the first round. So something drastic needs to happen here. I don't think it's in moving guys in and out of the lineup. It's either going to be you look them in the face and say, look, guys, this is your chance.
Yeah.
If you don't want to do it right now, then whatever fate has for you, get ready to accept it, because it's out of your control. So these guys need to go out there right now and dictate the things that they can dictate.
No, that's actually a really good point. I hadn't even thought about that. Like, especially bringing up Brendan Moore like that. Like, just the type of intensity that he brings and the kind of relationships he has with the players, it seems to be very effective. Like, Carolina's at least winning playoff series. So, I mean, you're right there. And Brendan Moore clearly has a mind for the game. He's an incredible player throughout his career, and it's translated into coaching success, and he's been able to bring that there. But yeah, I actually hadn't really thought about that. That is a pretty good point. But I don't have any Pappy power play of the day for this one. If you've got one, feel free. I can give it a go here. But I also need to just say I was corrected in the comments of our last video. I kept saying poppy like the flower, and someone was like, it's Pappy, not Poppy. So I'll try and make sure I keep that going as we go forward here. Pappy power play of the day. But Goody, if you've got one, feel free.
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay.
My Pappy power play of the day is going to Jason Spezza. I know it got redirected in the net, but this guy is right there whenever you need something. He is on a mission. He doesn't care about what these guys age 20 to 25 are up to. He's trying to win a cup. If they're not with him, that's too bad. Show goes on. He's going to try to tie up the game. He's going to go out there and do the things you need of him. Jason Spezza has not answered a bell rung in front of him yet in a Leafs jersey. So I love what Spezza's doing. I know it was, I guess, what you could call an ugly goal. I mean, I certainly wasn't celebrating it like an ugly goal. We needed that.
Yeah.
So Spezza, to me, he gets the Poppy power play because he really deserves that spotlight. Like, he's come in with no expectations and just blown that off the hinges. And I think in the playoffs, we saw it even last year, he's willing to assume any role you need at any moment. I mean, I love Jason Spezza. For worse or better, no matter what happens with this season, Jason Spezza will be remembered as an A1 Leaf.
Yeah, oh yeah, 100%. I completely agree with you. As a person and as a player, I think Spezza has completely exceeded expectations and been just like the best league minimum signing you could possibly have. So yeah, I completely agree with you. He was my X factor coming into these playoffs, so I'm still gonna ride with him. I love Spezza as a Leaf. But yeah, I don't know. I just after this game, I was just like, I can't even put like my finger on a best play of the day because I was just so shook, and I'm just like PTSD of all the game 7s that we've had to go through in the past, and I just can't picture us getting through that wall right now as much as I want to and as much as I think this team should be able to. I just like struggling to get over that hump. But before we close this one out, let's go with our grades of the game. Okay, so straight up, I'll go right away here. I think I'm going to have to go with a B- for this game. And I'm just going to keep it short and simple. Jack Campbell, yes, played great. That line of Kerfoot, Engvall, Mikheyev, yes, played great. Jason Spezza, awesome. I have no complaints with Justin Hall. I think he's been good throughout the playoffs. You look at TJ Brody, really good. Great to see him get on the board tonight. Yeah. Bogosian hasn't had the best couple of games, but he hasn't been bad. So there's no real problems there. But then I look at like that first line, they just need to score, man. Like, they need to score goals, and they can't do it. And as it goes on, it's just dragging on and dragging on and dragging on. It's like, when is this going to happen? Is this going to happen? Like, I don't know what to do anymore. I don't know how to feel about it, and it just sucks as this keeps happening. It's making my grades just bump down and down and down game after game here as they can't score. And like that is just a huge negative for me right now, especially like this team can't close out, and they need those top guys to be top guys. Like you can't, the bottom six, even the bottom nine, I'm just going to say the lower nine can't carry the top three. Like it just cannot happen, and it's not acceptable. So B- for me, because this team needs to close. We need to get over the hump. We need to win a playoff series, and that first line needs to be significantly better.
I'm going to give it a C right on the dot, because last game I went B- as well. And it was because I felt like we fought back. We brought it to overtime. We showed the grit and resiliency to keep the game going despite things not going our way early on. We found a way to solve Price. We finally get it into overtime, and then we let it slip. That should have been a learning lesson of, okay, guys, when you got your foot on the gas, you keep it on the gas, or when you're coming back, you fight your way back. You don't do it for nothing.
Yeah.
Especially against a team that's not as good as you.
Yeah.
So the second time around, I can't give it the B- again. I got to give it a C right on the dot, and it's about to be an F unless they fix something up, Philly, because that's what we're looking at. That kind of effort will get us booted out of the playoffs. And you know, I've got this crazy fatalistic view with the Leafs where it's like, if we can't figure it out, then we don't deserve it. Mm-hmm. And it's a terrible view to have, but I'm so critical of this team, and deservingly so, over the past few years, that, you know, when we got the group, let's roll with it. But I'm not going to sit here keeping imagining that the group's here when it's not. So we're going to see what happens, but this is the ultimate gut check. I'm saying C. I'm saying a C on the dot firmly for this effort. Oh man, it's teetering on a C-. It was bad. No fault of Campbell whatsoever, yeah. But I'm going to give it a C because they did fight back. But at the same time, man, for what? For what? And it's tough. We're in the playoffs now. It's not morale victories anymore. It's very clearly on the board who's leading what. We're going to Game 7 tied up. Yep. It's wild to me, Philly, but I got all the faith in the world. I think we're going to do fine, but it's going to come from that first line, like you said.
Yeah, well, that about does it for this review of Game 6, Leafs versus Habs. Habs win this one 3-2 in overtime after the Leafs claw back down 2-0 late in the third period from goals from Jason Spezza and TJ Brodie. Can't get it done. We dominated in overtime, and then just absolutely gut-wrenching. The Habs come down the other way. Travis Dermott with a bad turnover, and Kotkaniemi buries it to end this one. It's devastating as a Leafs fan, but let's hope we can get it done in Game 7. I think we're a better team than we have been the past 4 years. We're the better team in this series, which we haven't necessarily been in the first 3 years that we were in the playoffs. Last year, I think we were better than Columbus, couldn't get it done. But this year, it just has to happen. We have to get over that hump. And if we lose in Game 7 again, you guys are going to see me and Josh yelling and screaming and just going off the rails like you could not imagine, because it's going to be way too far, and we need to get over this hump. So we'll see you guys after the next game, Game 7, May 31st, time yet to be determined. Probably going to be another stupid 7:30 game. It needs to be at 7 o'clock. Like, these games just got to be earlier, but we'll see you guys after that game, and hopefully the vibe is a whole lot different.